So we're going to talk a little bit about the budget and where we are, where the university is. I have two caveats. One is I'm a little sick, and I put the slides together with the help of a great team around 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I took a NyQuil, which unfortunately was like a slow release. So I think it's releasing right now. So actually, I think what this is going to be is a PowerPoint roulette, which is that an image will show up, and I'll have like a minute to figure out what it is. Can we lower the lights a little bit? I'm not sure if you can see the screen well. By the way, I think that future vision that the arts need isn't going to come from a single person, but it could come from the most significant institution in America that's involved in training and presenting arts and design. So we've got as good a platform as any place to be part of this conversation and to demonstrate what the next framework will look like for the role and relevance of the arts in public life. I believe that deeply. Okay, budget. This is kind of the classic chart of what's happening between the state investment and tuition, and they just move in opposite directions proportionally. Wow. Jeff, that was powerful. You just said it, and it happened. So yeah, this is what ASU's tuition has looked like since fiscal year 08, and it follows the decline in the state's investment. This is state funding for higher education across the country, percent change in spending per student, and you see Arizona at negative 48.3% leads the nation in disinvestment in higher education. And therefore it also leads the nation in tuition increase. Now this is important for a number of reasons. I think the most compelling argument that the president has been trying to make to the legislature is that this is such a short-term view because not educating a student costs the state so much more money in the long run. And so what these charts show you is the difference between a college graduate and someone with a high school degree or someone who didn't complete college in terms of, okay, that's not the slide. So this is exactly what I was afraid of. Okay, this is the slide that says we are doing more than the other two universities in Arizona in terms of the share of degrees that are being given out for bachelor's, master's, share of undergraduate enrollment. Yet we took, in the $99 million cut, ASU took about a $55 million hit. And so what the president is trying to figure out is why are we getting punished for higher performance metrics? Right, so if you think about the logic, we're getting cut, so that what the state did is say, oh, we're going to cut you based on how big you are. So we're getting cut because we educate more students, right, which is exactly the opposite. It actually costs more to educate more students, so we should get the lower cut if it was a logical process. But here's the argument that the president's been making is, look at the difference between who gets Medicaid between those with less than a high school diploma versus those who go to college. And you see it's 43 to 9%. Those who are on school lunches or families that take advantage of school lunches. I don't know what the nutrition, those who are on supplemental nutrition assistance program, and then those using any welfare at all, and then this is the incident of being imprisoned if you don't have a college education. So we are spending so much money incarcerating people without college degrees, feeding people without college degrees, dealing with critical health issues of people without college degrees. That's costing us so much more money than the investment that the state could make in actually educating those students instead of putting them in jail. And this is the state appropriation went from 338 to 285. That's a 16% cut. And again, ASU suffered disproportionately. And the Herberger Institute funding went down by about 0.7, so $700,000 is what our cut was. So we did receive a cut, but it was about 2.2% of our budget. So it could have been a lot worse. And the university has moved baseline support from some schools to other schools. And so there are some other colleges that did not get cut. But most did, and some received much bigger cuts than we did. So what's the impact of those cuts? Clearly we're feeling them, but I guess I want to say that, like the university, we're moving aggressively forward. This has been our biggest year in terms of job hires or job seeking job. We haven't finished all these searches yet, but we were searching for more faculty positions than we have in a long, long time. All of you that have been on search committees, you've worked tirelessly. Sandy Stauffer in the dean's office has worked with you. So we're moving forward, right? With a couple exceptions, there might have been two searches that we put on hold because of reallocations of the budget. What we did is we tried to look across what courses were under-enrolled, especially courses that we offer for non-majors that were under-enrolled and likely taught by FAs. Those were some of the first areas that we cut with the hope that we can reinstate them. Because we think, I'll show you some slides in a second about how important it is to teach non-majors. And we've postponed some capital projects, but I feel very strongly that we're moving forward aggressively and still committed deeply to keeping the quality of education high in Herberger. We've also put forward a very strong proposal for the Southwest Borderland Initiative for 2 targeted opportunity hires. And the Provost office has asked us to identify high visible people to go after for professors of practice. They haven't put any money behind this yet, but I think the idea is let's identify the best people we can think of who really ought to be teaching some classes with us. Okay, height in comparison to other colleges. So here's what this is why that 2.2%, as bad as that is, I feel quite fortunate because the top bar is ASU's enrollment over the last 7 years, 8 years. And the bottom line is Herberger's enrollment. So we've gone down by 7%, and the university's gone up by over 30%. And so that's a hard measure, and I think we all should think about what that means, and we can talk about it. We've got to be part of the enrollment engine of the university. Otherwise, we will see bigger cuts. And it doesn't mean all of us have to grow, but we have to because we're all one institute. So they don't look at our individual schools separately or our programs. So we have to find those areas where we can support enrollment growth so that all of us don't have to grow. And we have to strategically make those investments so that we don't get any further cuts. I've just invented thought of an important invention, a water bottle that can advance your slides. Okay. Industrial design, who's in the room, work on that one. Okay, this is student major head count versus HIDA versus public programs. So this is just an example. Public programs, went from 2,500 students to over 5,000 students with no budget increase. So if you want to be upset that we lost 2.2%, I think actually our money went to Jonathan Capel's college. And I feel okay about that when you actually look at what they've done. Their student-teacher ratio went to 80-1. It's not sustainable. The university had to reallocate some of our teaching resources there. We've also lost a little bit of tuition remission funding and some block grant funding, which is used to support our PhD students and our TAs. But again, we've managed to absorb that in a way that I don't think has had drastic impacts. We are all faced with a continuing challenge of less money for TAs compared to our competitors. And I know in this last cycle we've just gone through trying to recruit the best graduate students, it has been really hard. And the president asked me the other day what my biggest surprise was, and I said, there's no money. You know, we're negotiating over $10,000 here or there in a budget of $50 million for the Institute, and that's a problem because we can't invest in our future when we're on the margin like that. And he said, well, how have you managed to have such highly regarded and ranked programs when you don't have any money? And I said, it's because our faculty are unbelievably well regarded internationally, and students are willing to come and work with them, even if we can't give them a comparable financial package, which should give us some hope that Bill's idea that the future isn't only going to be based on material rewards, but that actually we can make decisions on other value systems is true, that students are coming here. But it's going to be hard to continue to attract them if we don't figure out how to raise resources for more student scholarships. So this is revenues, ASU revenues from online. So you can see here that Herberger is kind of in the middle, but compared to the schools that are comparable to our size, we're quite far behind. And this is one of those areas where if we can find the right programs to grow online, not all of them should be online, they can cross-subsidize some of our other work. So we've got to strategically think about what is our next step online so that we can be more competitive and identify more revenues. And Stephanie, I'm sorry, that does sound like a neoliberal solution. ASU summer gross, again, we're okay, but we could do better in our summer school revenue. That's another source of funding that we get to keep. And then we can redeploy it as we see fit across the Institute. This will go a little long. If you need to leave for class, feel free to do that. I'm sorry that we've backed up to the end of the hour. This is how we compare in terms of research proposals. And so here, that doesn't look quite so good in terms of proposals going out for grants. Other than law, we're at the very bottom compared to our peers. And this is the dollar amount. And so that whether it's number of proposals or the dollar amount, Herberger Institute is lower than our peers. This is our retention, and everything in blue is higher than us, and everything in yellow is similar to us. So in 2013-14, we had an 81% retention, and 2 other colleges were below us, but 8 or 9 were above us. I think we need to think about this very, very deeply as a faculty. The way we engage students, the intimacy, the contact hours, the time we invest, we really have a chance to keep retention much higher. I think schools that have less contact with students have a harder time, but we should be leading in this area. Now, ASU has been making progress. We've been making progress. I think one of the best stories for ASU is the rise in the number of Pell Grant students that are coming to ASU. So it's gotten as high as 40.8%. Now it's 35.8% of our students have Pell Grants. We have more Pell Grant students than all of the Ivy Leagues combined. Right? This is that mission of inclusion that's so important. We're also seeing that we're rising in national rankings on lots of research expenditure. So if you look at total research expenditures without a medical school, we're ranked 12th in the nation. And that's really incredible growth for ASU. And this is the these are the metrics that ASU is trying to hit: 90% freshman retention, $700 million in research, 85,000 in-person enrollment, 20,000 online enrollment, and 25,000 total degrees conferred every year. And this is how they're doing. This is fiscal year 14. We're seeing progress in every area. That's the projection for 17, and then by fiscal year 20, if trends continue, we'll be well beyond those objectives. Okay, Herberger, some progress. We are now identified as the sixth most important capital project for the university for building some kind of downtown presence for us. And that's not going to mean moving more colleges or departments downtown. Right now, this is intended to be the idea of a creative city center where students can spend part of their time working in teams with community partners as part of our arts and design core. We don't have time to talk through this. This is at the very early stages of what this could look like. All of you will be involved in shaping it. My only point to you is that this is good news for us to be sixth on the capital projects list. Something will happen. We will be part of it. We will get to drive it, and that's exciting for us. This is increases in our research proposals and awards, and under Associate Dean Tamara Underreiner, working with many of you, we are really seeing increases. So even though we're still not as high as most of our other peers, if we continue just getting proposals out the door, we will see more rewards for that, and we're on a great trajectory. So I really recognize all of you that have carved out the time to put an application together and apply for external funding. You know, it is like going after venture money. You have to apply multiple times before you get it, and so I don't really care as much about what the actual numbers are. I think it's more important that we are projecting that we have ideas and we are seeking validation for those ideas out in the world. That's what it means when we put a proposal out there. So let's keep that going. I sort of accidentally mentioned that we were planning to send a lot of students downtown. Unfortunately, the Phoenix Business Journal reported that as ASU is sending an army of people to paint murals downtown. So what we've discovered is that there are a lot of people in Phoenix that have walls that want murals painted on them. So Sarah, I think we've gotten probably 30 or 40 people saying we've got a perfect wall. And there's also probably many of our graduates, there are many, many people who want to paint murals on walls downtown. So if nothing else, we've discovered that there needs to be a marriage between those who want to paint and those that have walls. We may do some of that, but that is certainly not what the Design and Arts Corps is supposed to be. We've gotten better coverage on radio and in the Phoenix News-Times, which gives a more encompassing view of what it could mean for students to be working with 100 community partners in schools, in hospitals, working with government, working with nonprofits, to really use their creative talents to make something happen important in the city. Development goals. Sean Richards, I don't know if, Sean, are you in the room? Sean, congratulations. You love to see this. Our goal was $4.5 million, and we are over $9 million for this year. So. And just, you know, this doesn't just, as you can imagine, people don't just come knocking on our doors and say, here's a big check. It takes a lot of cultivation. So this first gift that just came in for the School of Music, $6 million, Heather worked very hard cultivating that relationship for many years, and this is an estate gift that was given to us recently. So Heather, congratulations on that. And Heather Lineberry's in the back. I don't know if Gordon's here, but the museum has been a great model for for fundraising. I think they are kind of leading the Institute in terms of creating energy around giving gifts to the museum. And there's been several nice large gifts to the museum. But I also want to mention, is Tom Eckert in the room? No? So Tom is retiring this year from the Wood Program in the School of Art. So we have a $1.2 million gift from the Wingate Foundation to honor Tom and endow the Wood Program with scholarships and teaching support and equipment. And that's just an example of, again, this happened from a faculty member who had developed a relationship with a program officer at the Wingate Foundation. You know, Sean and team were able to put together a proposal around him, but if Tom had not been the one who convinced the foundation that we had a world-class wood program, we would not have that gift. So much of this comes from your work. We can't sort of spin it like Rumpelstiltskin at the dean's level, right? We can't just make gold out of straw. It is your work that people want to fund. And these are foundations that we have visited in the last year. All of them are interested in making an investment in the Herberger Institute, and it's going to take 6, 7, 8 months, a year with many of them, but we will see lots of support, I think, from around the country. The president has put the Herberger Institute in front of all the major donor groups, so we have been the featured act at every major philanthropic event that the president has planned this year, and that is good news as well. Again, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but we are on the radar screen. This is our retention rates. I just want to show you something that Associate Dean Jen Setlow ran, which I think is really interesting. So you can see here that the bottom line is Herberger, the red line is ASU, and then the gold line are students who are not ASU, who are not Herberger majors, but who took an art class. So this is really provocative. One, again, I'd rather our line be above ASU's line, so okay, we'll work on that. But the idea is when students get a chance to take a class with us, they're more likely to stay in school. Now, there's a lot of statistics here. This is just sort of an initial take on this data, and we've got to really dig in and figure out what's going on here. But this certainly suggests to me that the service that we're providing for the broader campus is absolutely essential for ASU's larger goal of getting to 90% retention. Students have got to have access to their creative passions and interests and voice, and we've got to be part of that. These are just trends over time. This is the second year. We're going to skip through that, all of this. Just if you want, these are our fastest growing majors. Digital culture and art history online. Art history is our only online degree. Areas of growth this year: School of Music, Design School, Architectural Studies, Industrial Design, Music Education. Congratulations to all those programs. Biomimicry Center, this was a big announcement for us this year. Prasad Brakdar is the director of the Biomimicry Center. It is a university-wide initiative, but it's housed in the Herberger Institute, and I think we've benefit a lot from it. There's Prasad, and here's an example of biomimicry that I do not have any idea what it means. So I wanted to email Sarah and say, what are these slides? I can't explain them. They're ants, and there's a building. But biomimicry is an important field that is getting a lot of attention and respect from internationally and globally, and it's the idea of using nature and biology to inspire design for solving human problems. I just want to quickly talk to you about what we did under Senior Associate Dean Michael Underhill's leadership. Shell Oil has something called the Shell Challenge, where they seek ideas from students about how to extract oil better. That doesn't sound that exciting. But ultimately about how to create a more sustainable future. So their initial challenge was about, oil wells only extract about 40% of the available oil, and they leave 60% in the ground, so they have to dig many more wells than they need to. And so they went to School of Engineering, the School of Earth Science Exploration, and said, do you guys want this challenge? And they all said, no, it's too technical, it's too hard, it's not, we're not interested. And they came to us and we said, of course, we will do it. Like, we will do it. We will figure out how to extract oil from your wells because we have the kind of students who can think around technical solutions. So they have technical solutions. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of technical scientists working on these issues. They want the idea that no one else can think of. So we put together this idea-a-thon over 2 days, and we worked with the Barrett Honors College, and we had our students, some engineering students came, about 35 students in total, and they came up with amazing ideas. Michael didn't think they were as amazing as I thought they were. But several of them, we were forwarding to Shell. This is just an example of where I think we can be the go-to place for problem solving across the university. Here are some of the students during that 2-day session. And we did it, by the way, was it last weekend? Okay, bad time of the semester. I'm convinced we can do more of these. We can get, I think, easily 100 students involved. Grant Street continues to be a real source of pride for Herberger and ASU downtown. It's really catalyzed the sense that downtown can be a vital cultural scene. We've almost completed the second phase of moving graduate students downtown. It's a great hive of activity. It's working. There are costs involved in moving students back and forth between Tempe and downtown. It's not as dense an area yet as we hope it will be, the warehouse district, but it's a real success story. And I'll just end with a conversation that I had with the officers, Ellen, Carol, and Bill, just a few days ago, about thinking about us as a design lab for the future of arts pedagogy in an increasingly digital world, if you will. So this is actually a kind of a remarkable slide. So the Department of Education said, actually Congress required the Department of Education to begin to list universities based on their real costs, which is tuition, taking into account how much average aid students get. And when they publish the list, right, this is for private schools here, look at the top 20, right? About 65% are art schools, of the most expensive schools in the nation. Now, there's a reason for that, because of the way we teach, of where we're located, generally in high rent areas, urban places, because of the cost of our materials. It is expensive. It's an expensive education. We're in a university that's trying to figure out how to do this more efficiently, and within a world that's trying to force universities to do this more efficiently, right? Many states are already announcing that a college education is going to cost $10,000, and they're requiring their state institutions to try and figure out how to make that happen. And we have to be concerned about the cost and about debt. This is from a survey of 100,000 arts graduates, and we're looking at the difference between recent graduates and older graduates in terms of the amount of debt. And you see, older graduates, only 4% left with over $60,000 of debt. Today, it's more than 14%. In every category, the amount of debt that students are leaving with today is multiple times higher than a decade ago. In this survey, debt had a major impact on the educational and career decisions of 35% of recent graduates versus only 14% of non-recent alumni who went to art school, art and design school. Of past professional artists, those that have and those who have never been professional artists but intended to be, 39% gave debt as the reason why they were not able to pursue their life as an artist or designer, and that compares to 22% of non-recent alums. So debt is increasingly influencing how our students make decisions in the world, so we've got to be concerned about costs, right? We cannot just fund our way out of this with scholarships. So what does that look like? So I'm inspired by Sarah Green Steinberg's work at the D School, where she worked with students to really ask the fundamental question, how do we redesign higher education? And you know, they came up with auditioned all kinds of ideas. What about the open loop university where it lasted your whole lifetime? So over that whole lifetime, you do 6 years worth of study, but they don't happen all at one time. And it's more integrated into how you're living and working. What if students move through college at their own pace instead of in this kind of factory model of semester and credit unit? What if college wasn't about accumulating information, but rather accumulating competencies so that your final transcript would be as unique as a fingerprint rather than just a list of courses? And then my favorite is this one. What if students declared missions instead of majors? And in some ways, I think we're as close to that as any other college across the university. So what if we were a lab for testing new ideas for pedagogy? What would studio-based teaching in an under-resourced world look like? Right? And this is not changing overnight, but if we had 10 years to experiment so that we're ahead of the game, right, rather than having to be reactive to a mandate that our costs go down, how do we broaden curricular pathways for those students that want those pathways? How do we transition better to work and expand our students' occupational imagination of what's possible for them? How would we think about a teaching hospital model of arts and design education? We're going to continue to work with the officers and all of you to think about what are these working groups that we need to set up and begin experimenting, identifying resources to support experimental efforts in the classroom, testing them, and hopefully being better prepared 3, 4, 5 years from now to deal with the possibility that our costs are going to have to go down. Okay, thank you.